the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized.
Regardless of skin color, people marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything, and
she has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses.
What happens when Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher join forces to incinerate The View? You get a verbal massacre so savage it had daytime TV gasping for a break. Gutfeld sliced with irony, Maher scorched with blunt honesty, and together they unraveled the show piece by piece. This wasn't a roast, it was a full-blown reckoning. Arrogant commentary disintegrated, hypocrisy ignited like dry brush in a wildfire. Whoopi barely held it together as the set transformed into a battlefield of barbs and intellect. No shade was tossed. This was a total blackout. And The View? They never saw the ambush coming. And by the way, yeah, that red cap you keep rocking, the one that says "Make America Great Again," that sends a message. You might as well slap a swastika on it. Wait, no, don't do that. Because we already see it. I'll never defend Donald Trump, not once. But I'd never say put a swastika on that hat, because here's the thing. You can despise Trump without despising everyone who supports him. That's half the country. I don't want to live in a place where hating half the population is the default. That's not my country. How dare anyone push back, right? Welcome to The View, the endless carnival of clashing egos where every segment feels like a group text blaring over loudspeakers. A place where reason clocks out early, nuance gets heckled into exile, and the whole thing runs on espresso and outrage. It's not a panel. It's a coliseum for unsolicited hot takes. You could drop a Nobel Prize winner into that chaos and they'd be clutching their mug like a flotation device, questioning their life choices within 5 minutes. But just when it felt like the circus couldn't spiral any further, bam, 2 rebels stormed the gates like a last season soap twist. Enter Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher, unlikely comrades with one goal: obliterate the illusion. And trust us, they didn't. Ring the doorbell. They blew the hinges clean off. Meanwhile, sausage brand Johnsonville is recalling over 42,000 pounds of pork links due to potential contamination with plastic strands. Thankfully, all 42,000 pounds were traced back to a single site in New York. City one's a conservative flamethrower who commands late night. The other's a liberal iconoclast with a live mic and zero chill. Together, absolute anarchy.
He doesn't critique, he clowns. And Maher, he swoops in like the smug older brother at Thanksgiving, dismantling the groupthink with surgical sarcasm. When these two team up, it's not just criticism, it's a televised takedown ritual. And The View is the sacrificial offering.
Joy Behar gets racism, after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast.
The panel says something ridiculous. Greg Gutfeld rolls his eyes so hard it nearly triggers a tsunami, then dives into a takedown that turns daytime TV into a combat sport. His problem? The View pretends it's a debate, but it's just 5 voices yelling the same thing and calling it discussion. He's compared it to a group project where no one did the reading, but everyone demands to lead. Greg roasts Joy Behar for rewriting facts on the fly, mocks Sunny Hostin's "I'm right because I said so" act, and drags Whoopi for delivering confused wisdom like a broken fortune cookie. For him, mocking The View isn't a hobby, it's a mission.
Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
Well said.
To Greg Gutfeld, The View isn't a talk show. It's a meltdown in progress. Guests aren't welcomed. They're ambushed. Beneath the sarcasm, his real point is clear. The show's a self-congratulatory echo chamber where disagreement is treated like a crime. He slams their inclusive vibe as emotional warfare wrapped in fake smiles, where a conservative guest gets the trap and destroy treatment. It's not discussion, it's performance activism with bad lighting and louder eyebrows. Even the crew isn't safe. Greg jokes the real host is the teleprompter guy, praying for commercial breaks. And the big twist? He claims The View operates in a world where facts bend to feelings, and logic is drowned out by drama. Honestly, he might be onto something.
Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism as a white lady.
Well, she had that one Halloween where she went as Diana Ross and she felt she was treated differently.
Just when you think the roast is at its peak, Bill Maher steps in, the king of contrarians armed with truth bombs. If Gutfeld's the sniper, Maher's the demolition expert, strolling in with a grin and a detonator. He's the liberal who rattles his own side, pro-weed, pro-free speech, and allergic to nonsense. So when even Maher starts calling out The View has officially jumped the shark when even Bill Maher raises an eyebrow. His gripe? The show's allergic reaction to complexity. Disagree even slightly, and you're instantly branded as problematic or unenlightened. It's not a discussion anymore. It's a courtroom. One misstep, and you're handed a mandatory apology followed by a digital execution on X, formerly Twitter. Maher's taken a flamethrower to their theatrical outrage, their virtue signaling, and their uncanny knack for blowing minor disagreements into Category 5 meltdowns. When Bill Maher checks you publicly, you're already toast. Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment, you used the term woke and said it's what's wrecking everything. No, I didn't say it's wrecking everything. I said, that's why Trump might win again. That's why Trump might get reelected. I was just surprised to hear you say woke, because the right has hijacked that word, twisted it, and stripped it of meaning. And I know you know this, because you're incredibly sharp, that woke originally came from the Black community to describe awareness of social injustice. So, why is that bad? It's not bad. Originally, it was a great concept. To Maher, watching The View is like being stuck in a fire drill, except everyone blames you for the smoke. He doesn't just take shots. He dismantles their Instagram deep slogans, their bumper sticker sermons, and the delusion that whoever shouts the loudest must be correct. Gutfeld doesn't let them off easy either. He targets the illusion of ideological variety, calling it a Potemkin village of opinion. Maher takes it further, claiming they're not even pretending to be curious anymore. When the script becomes so cookie-cutter that you can mouth the next zinger before they say it, Maher wonders whether it's still television, or just ritualized. Tribal drama served with a side of latte art. And here's the twist. Gutfeld and Maher, two guys who couldn't agree on lunch, are perfectly aligned on this. The View has devolved into unintentional satire, a place where the jokes think they're oracles.
For both of them, it's no longer a talk show. It's a live-action political theater, where every disagreement is a crisis and every solution is a performative group hug, with claws. And speaking of Whoopi Goldberg, my phone blew up this week. She went after me last episode and everyone was like, "Did you see what she said?" The drama never sleeps, but neither do the people who finally had enough of the echo chamber. Maher and Gutfeld didn't crash The View. To join the chaos, they came to expose it.
They're both spot on, and The View hosts hate it. You could almost see the steam coming off their mugs when these clips dropped online. Their attempts to clap back, a weak, glitter-filled attempt to put out a grease fire. Defensive, vague, and totally missing the point. But the internet didn't miss it. Both sides of the political spectrum saw it. The View had become exactly what it hates. Predictable, preachy, and painfully out of touch. The fallout? As awkward as it was inevitable.
I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sonny Hostin's body language.
When Gutfeld and Maher's critiques dropped, The View went radio silent. No defense, just forced smiles and a swift change of topic, pretending the roast never happened. It was like a mirror was dropped, and they couldn't bear to look at it. The real kicker? The show that claims to value honest conversation couldn't handle two outsiders doing exactly that. Instead of facing the truth, they hid, hoping viewers wouldn't notice. But they did. When a Fox host and a liberal comic team up to call you out, it's not an attack, it's an intervention. This wasn't just about throwing shade. It was a warning about what happens when a platform stops engaging and starts preaching. Gutfeld and Maher may not agree on much, but they agree. The View has lost its way. And that script? It's long overdue for the trash.
Canada, apparently they're throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which means The View is very unhappy.
Oh.
If The View wants to reclaim any shred of credibility, it might want to start inviting some actual dissent. Not for the cameras, but for real conversations. When the people roasting you are sharper, funnier, and more consistent than your hosts, maybe it's time to rethink the script. But don't hold your breath. The only thing louder than The View's applause for itself is the silence that follows when someone dares to challenge them. And don't think Gutfeld and Maher are done just yet. These two may not break bread together, but they've found a common enemy. The View won't be sending thank you notes anytime soon because when the clowns start calling out the circus, you know it's in trouble. And here's the gut punch. When The View gets roasted by two guys who thrive on sarcasm and sharp commentary, you know things have hit rock bottom. We're talking about Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher. Not random trolls, but guys who call out everyone, from Fox News to the left. And yet, even they looked at The View and said, "That's too much." Let that sink in.
You look tantalizing.
You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking.
Because COVID also taught Sonny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart. And I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well. And it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that.
She pauses dramatically, because even she knows she's bordering on unbearable. On one hand, you've got a right-leaning comedian convinced the country's gone off the rails. On the other, a progressive provocateur who mocked cancel culture before it was fashionable. And somehow they're both pointing fingers at The View. This isn't just a roast, it's an intervention. The show's gotten so entrenched in its own ideological echo chamber that even people from completely opposite political galaxies are calling it out. Maher and Gutfeld weren't always critics. Once upon a time, Maher fit right in with their smug banter, and Gutfeld, he was their mischievous foil. But now they've both crossed over, from sparring partners to disillusioned commentators. What was once comedy is now a siren. The View has pushed away anyone who dares to think independently. You're either locked into their outrage spiral or you're quietly escorted out of the conversation. And the kicker? The very people who constantly dive headfirst into political chaos now sound like the reasonable ones. The irony writes itself. Goldberg, who I hope is still a friend. Look, we can disagree. That doesn't mean she should be exiled or booted off her platform. As much as I completely disagree with what she said, she deserves her seat. You don't give someone a timeout for expressing an opinion. Not everything has to be universally liked, right? We can have shows that not everyone enjoys. But The View is a strange place to try to unpack inflation. I mean, it's literally called The View. It's not called The Facts. Exactly. And I doubt Barbara Walters intended it to morph into this. It took a Fox News jester and a libertarian comic to finally say what so many are thinking. The View isn't a panel. It's a train wreck of groupthink. If you want genuine diversity of opinion, boot the predictable voices and toss Maher and Gutfeld into the mix. Picture the chaos. Two ideological hurricanes colliding with the status quo in a live stream meltdown. You wouldn't just get ratings, you'd get reality. Or better yet, retire the whole operation and rename it The Sigh. Because that's all anyone's doing while watching. Cringing, waiting, hoping someone, anyone, will finally say something. Grounded ironically, it's the jesters, the ones usually dismissed as unserious, who now sound like the adults in the room, the so-called experts. They're stuck in a feedback loop of self-congratulation. If you enjoy watching these cultural implosions in real time, give us a thumbs up. And if you want more breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you never miss an update. Until next time, see you on the other side of sanity.
hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court. Now,
What show is she watching? No shade. But seriously, I've gone through this whole year trying to find just one solid win from Biden. And I've got nothing. If there's anything good happening, it's hiding like a needle in a haystack. And no one's found it. Yet meanwhile, the far left keeps digging themselves into a deeper mess like they got a shovel in one hand and denial in the other is wild. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just wait until you see this next. Clip it says everything you're about. To watch them get fully triggered over absolutely nothing, I mean, they act like someone just burned down their house when really.
Finally, new rule. Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging.